Somebody dialed my telephone. My mama told me this won't last forever. You won't always be alone. But I do. 'Cause nobody loves me. Everybody hates me. I'm gonna go and eat myself some worms. Nobody loves me. Everybody hates me. I'm gonna go and eat myself some worms. Nobody chose me to be on their team. Nobody yelled my name. I was the odd one standing on the sidelines. Never got to play no games. Nobody loves me. Everybody hates me. I'm gonna go and eat myself some worms. Nobody loves me. Everybody hates me. I'm gonna go and eat myself some worms. Oh, I tried not to let it get me down. Tried not to let it make me frown. I tried and I tried. What would I do? Nobody loves me, so now I sing the blues. Oh, nobody, nobody loves me. Everybody hates me. I'm gonna go and eat myself some worms. Nobody loves me. Everybody hates me. I'm gonna go and eat myself some dirty worms.
There we are then. Oh, I really hope everything is working and that everyone in the side chat can hear me. What an incredibly stressful 30 minutes that was. Can you hear me? Please say yes. Somebody give me a wave, give me a clue. Because tonight I am joined by none other than Mr. Flerfspective, aka Ranty. Good evening, pal. How are you?
Good evening, Creaky. Glad to be here, mate. How are you doing?
I'm glad to be here. I'm all right, mate, and I'm glad to have made it this far as well. And I'm really just yes, they can hear us. Could you also hear? He's there, isn't he? Could you also hear this young man? Because it's going to be a really difficult interview if, well, I say interview, it's more of a chat, but if you can't hear Ranty, it's going to make it, yeah, they can hear us both. There we are, yeah, perfect. I thought that may happen, right? That's what I was afraid of. That's what I was afraid of. So, good evening, sir.
Good evening. Good evening.
Do you know when this came about that we were going to do this together? It suddenly dawned on me that you were probably one of the only flat earthers I never made a video about.
Right, I had no idea about that.
Why
was that? Why was that?
Do you know, I don't know. I really don't know why I avoided you for a reason, or why I never saw you say anything that made me think, oh, I want to make a video about this guy. I just sort of, obviously, I found out who you were because of Cats. And if Cats hadn't sort of, used to put the ship disappear, the clip. That's how I found out who Ranty Flat Earth was. And obviously now, luckily for us, you're no longer Ranty Flat Earth. You're just Ranty.
That's right, yeah. Yeah, so I was kind of wrapped up in the flat earth for a long time, really. I had my own debate platform too, so I was pretty used to doing all this kind of streaming stuff and talking to people.
Yeah.
And yeah, I had a fair few subscribers, got to say, but in the end, it all came down to evidence for me, and then something changed my mind, and here I am.
Yeah, obviously it doesn't take a genius to work out roughly how many subscribers you're approaching at the minute. There's something giving it away, and I can't quite put my finger on it. Is this channel bigger than the Ranty Flat Earth channel ever was? Because again, I've got no idea.
Yeah, I think the most I ever had when I was on Ranty Flat Earth was 5,300.
Right.
And then this is currently just coming up to 8,300. So it's about 3,000 more. In fact, that's the amount that I've gone up from appearing on Simon Dan's a week ago.
Yeah. So, Dan's a legend. And he's helped me. It was by being a guest creator on Tinfoil Tuesday. I passed 10K. It's just the influence of the community that we all find ourselves part of from both sides. But obviously now you've come to the more friendly side. So I want to backtrack a little bit, because I've always wanted the opportunity to have a chat with somebody that believes the earth is... I know you no longer do, right? But what was there, if somebody was sat next to you now, holding their hands out ready to strangle you if they didn't like your answer, was there sort of an event or one thing in particular that made you say the earth is flat? Could you pinpoint that?
Well, the whole journey started for me long before becoming a flat earther. So I think my investigation into trying to understand how I ended up as a flat earther, because that's pretty much what I'm doing on this new channel, is finding out that it was other conspiracies that led me to a point where I was ready to accept anything so stupid. So you kind of get brainwashed in the debunking community, not the debunking community, sorry, the conspiracy community.
Yeah.
And it's a gradual process. You believe one thing, or you look into one thing, and then you look into something else, and they vaguely link it to that. And then before you know it, and you've watched 10 different conspiracy videos about 10 different things, and they've all got this slight element of truth, but the vast majority of it's wrong. But that small element of truth is what they play on, and then they link it vaguely with one another, and they make up this big conspiracy. And people like myself were susceptible to that for various reasons. You know, there might be some mental health problems, or there could be something going on in their lives, or they could be very depressed at that moment in time and they're looking for something else or answers. And this affords some kind of answer. And for somebody like myself that was never really into science, and I think that's the biggest part for a lot of flat earthers, in fact most flat earthers really, is that they don't have a scientific background. And I never did. I was clever in other things, you know. I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of scientists out there that can't hang a shelf, or they can't hang some wallpaper, or climb a ladder and go on the roofs and repair the roofs and things like that. But they're very clever at being a scientist. So my skills were different to theirs, and I had no idea about science. I didn't do it very well at school. So I was very ready then to just simply fall into the trap of flat earth. And I watched a video or a couple of videos, and something interested me, which was the idea that you could see too far, especially over water. I got the idea immediately that, you know, that's the distances involved. Maths and stuff, I was good at maths, easy to work out. You know, there's the curvature of the earth, that's how much should be missing. So I went and bought myself a P900, went straight down to the beach, looked over water, probably the worst thing I could have done because of all the refraction that goes on there, and was able to see a distant land called Barrow Furnace that I shouldn't have been able to see geometrically on a globe. And at that time, there was no answer for why you were able to see it. You know, the refraction calculator wasn't out there. So when I did my research and I looked for an answer, why is the globe saying that you can't, you know, that you can see this far, but there's no answer for this from the globe at that moment in time? That came later. That came later in 2018 with McQuest. So when I was looking into it, I was seeing these distant buildings that I shouldn't be able to see, and the only answer I was getting from the globe earthers was, your observer height wasn't the observer height that you say it was, etc., etc. Well, I knew where I'd taken the images from. I knew what my camera height was. I knew the distances involved. You know, I'm not stupid in that respect. So I definitely knew that I was seeing far further than I should, but there was no definitive answer for me for the globe at that time. And like I say, I was just ready at that moment in time to fall into that kind of conspiracy, and that was all I needed. I just saw what I needed to see, saw too far, and thought, hey, this is true, this is real. And because I had no scientific background, you know, I had no way of helping myself out of that trap at that moment.
Yeah, I know what you. So it's kind of, because the way I look at it, I've said this on live streams before. I'm like you. I'm not a scientifically minded person. You know, everything I want to put out there, I have to really read up on or ask. You know, I'll ask Kat or I'll ask Simon Dan. You know, somebody who I know has a better knowledge of that thing than I do, or at the very least they can point me to a reputable source for finding out what I want to find out. And I've said that, you know, if sort of being a guy in today's, you know, times is traveling along a straight road, you come to a fork, one way is flat earth, one way is globe earth, it must be very easy you know, to veer off in the wrong direction, rather than say, well, I'll look into it a little bit more and I'll try and find other information that confirms what this information is telling me, because I've always sort of seen it as, you know, see, look, I found this piece of information because I Googled it. It says what I was thinking. I'm not going to bother looking any further than that.
Well, yeah, and possibly today it'd be a lot more difficult to fall down the rabbit hole for flat earth anyway. And that's because when you go back to 2015, 2016, when flat earth started gaining a little bit of traction, and then it blew up in like 2016, 2017, at that time, nobody really needed to debunk the idea that the earth was a globe, because it was just known that it was a globe. So the debunkers back then knew that the earth was a globe, but they didn't have readily to hand, like they do now, like MC Toon, FTFE, Mr. Sensible. I'm sure they've got folders upon folders that they can just go to and pick out the correct information for the correct question. But back then, you know, the debunkers in the community they just knew it was a globe, and they didn't really need to. A lot of their debunking came from just laughing at flat earthers rather than producing the evidence to back up the claims, because it wasn't like the globe had been put on trial in this sort of like arena online. It had never been on trial in this sort of arena before. So it took a few years for the debunking community to get their act together and get all the eggs in one basket ready to fight the flat earthers on their terms and say, no, this is the proof that you were looking for, this is the answer. But of course, those opening years, let's say it took 2 or 3 years for them to get all their eggs in the basket, in that time, it cemented the idea of the flat earthers that the globers had nothing. You know, they had no idea what they were talking about. And to be honest, they didn't have the ready to hand answers that they do now.
Because
now it will be a lot easier.
Sorry, mate, go on. No, go on.
I'm just going to say that back then it was just easier to fall into flat earth because there was no debunkers ready to say, you've got a question? Right, there's the answer. Whereas nowadays, I think, if I'd have gone down to the beach with a camera, seen too far, come to the debunking community and said, hey, I can see this building, this was my observer height, blah, 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 blah. Mick West would have, somebody would have pointed me to Mick West and the Andrew Thomas Young research and said, this is the reason you're seeing too far, it's because of refraction. And clearly your location has the perfect conditions for greater than standard refraction. I'd be like, okay, that's an answer. Not what I had back then.
Yeah, and the thing is, I think, and again, you would be the one to correct me on this, but the way flat Earth has gone now, it seems to be very sort of mob-handed and very, you know, there's the flat Earth gang over here, and then the debunking gang over here, and regardless of what one says to the other, they're never going to sort of listen to each other or agree to disagree, because, you know, I think, you know, it's interesting what you said earlier on about, you know, people, essentially what you were saying is they're looking for a community of like-minded people, and, you know, the likes of Nathan Oakley, you know, give them that, don't they? And then he becomes sort of, I don't know, is he like considered to be one of the higher ranked or higher tier members of the flat earth community in the UK?
In the UK, probably. Worldwide, I think as a whole, right, here's the thing. There's a difference between how many subscribers you have and the actual influence that you have. So, for instance, Bob Nodell has more subscribers than Nathan Oakley, but you don't hear anybody repeating Bob's arguments. You know, Bob doesn't really have any arguments. He tries to science things out as best he can, but he always defaults back to the flat earth whenever he can. Whereas Nathan Oakley is very, I would say more akin to like a brainwashing kind of agenda that he has.
Yeah.
So his platform involves the start of every show going through these housekeeping questions, which literally takes about half an hour of the show. So half an hour out of an hour show, every day it's the same questions, the same repeated arguments. Nathan will then go on this diatribe about how this particular question cannot be answered by the globe when basically it can, and he's just butchering it and he's not being truthful with his audience. But this brainwashing thing that he does every single day, it only takes somebody to step into that arena, listen to a week's worth of his shows, and suddenly they think that they've got all the answers because they've listened to Nathan brainwashing them all this time, telling them that he has these proofs. And then what happens is those same people, and I know it's them because they take their arguments, his arguments, to people like Fight the Flat Earth to go and debate him.
Yeah.
You never hear them bring in arguments from Bob Nodell or Jeranism or Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole. They don't bring their proofs. They bring Nathan Oakley's proofs. So in regards to who has the bigger influence for brainwashing, it's definitely Nathan Oakley. That's why my channel, I go after him whenever I can. You know, I think half of my videos are probably about him.
Yeah.
And that's for that particular reason.
So do you think, Ranty, that so you said he always opens, because I'll be completely honest with you, I've never really watched Nathan at all, apart from if somebody would send me a timestamp and say, oh, you should see what Oakley said here, I would watch that. But do you think he does exactly the same topic consistently, because then it's very easy through repetition, parrot fashion, if you like, to start to sound like an expert and to start sounding like he knows what he's talking about to somebody who is either maybe too lazy or can't be bothered to go and look for themselves, so they just take what he says as read, or that they're maybe, I don't like calling people stupid, because I don't think anyone's genuinely stupid, but who maybe lack the mental sort of ability to think, I've got to check this for myself somewhere, you know, reliable. Do you think that's why he acts in the way he does?
Well, a lot of people that fall into flat Earth aren't scientists, and they have never really studied science. So it's super easy for Nathan to use this tactic to have them believe what he wants them to believe. And he will start his show. You know, he'll do his introduction. It's about a 90-second introduction where he's listing all the places that you can go and give him money. And then when he's done that, he'll say, right, hello everybody. Right, any signs of curvature? So then he passes it over to the panel, and the panel will go, no, Nathan, there's no signs of any curvature. And then he goes, yes, there is no sign of any curvature because we just see too far, and blah, 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 blah. And the black swan proves all this, blah, 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 blah. And then after about 3 or 4 minutes, he then goes, any chance you can have gas pressure without a container? And everyone goes, no, Nathan, there is no. And it's literally like that.
Yeah.
No, Nathan, no. And he goes, of course you can't have gas pressure without a container, because entropy, the second law of thermodynamics, would make all the gas disappear and it would just explode into the vacuum of space. So you can't have gas pressure next to a container. And it's like, but dude, it's not gas pressure, it's atmospheric pressure. There's a difference.
Yeah.
But he doesn't tell them that.
No. So basically then, you've got Nathan Oakley and tens of thousands of yes men, or men who are too afraid to say no because of how hyper aggressive he appears to be in his live show, which for some reason people watch every day.
Yeah, and that's why we fell out ultimately. It was because he was being so dishonest about stuff and giving huge favoritism to bogus proofs from the flat Earth. And I called him out on it on a live stream in front of everybody, obviously. But I was targeting Quantum Eraser because he had been making some assertions about some evidences that he had, and I asked him, give me the proof of that, show me what it is, and he told me to, in no uncertain terms, F and then off. Yeah. So I was like, I can imagine. Okay. So I went, right, so we're going to have this out right now. So we had it out there and then, and Nathan started white knighting for him and said, you know, don't jump all over him. And I said, well, you can't be asking the Globers for proof if you're not prepared to provide your proof as well. So ultimately, I said, I'm off. That's it, done. I said, this place is done. I'm history. I'm going to set my own place up. And I set my own platform up, and my platform surpassed his. I mean, I was getting 300 live viewers on mine. I was doing my show.
So how many on average does he get? Because I can see the side chatter saying I was being a bit generous, saying that he gets tens of thousands of views. He's lucky if he gets tens of hundreds or tens of thousands. He's lucky to get 80 live viewers and 1,000 actual views.
Yeah, and the actual views aren't real actual views. It's people that hang around for just 5 minutes of his show or click onto it to actually respond to a comment. So all of those 1,000 views, there's probably only about 300 or 400 views, proper views, where people have actually sat down to watch the show. The rest of people just hopping in and hopping off. Yeah. And his live viewers has dropped. He at one time was getting about 300 live viewers way back when, you know, the show was really popular about 3 years ago. And now he's lucky to get between 80 and 120, I would say.
Really? So how is he making money then? By just extracting it from the gullible? Because he can't be making it from ad revenue, Ranty. He just can't.
No, the ad revenue, I mean, it's shocking. I mean, I've known that. I've seen that myself recently when I've been checking my own. Yeah. I think my last 3 videos, at 10,000 views or something, I think I've made about £6 for 3 full days worth of work. So I have no idea how he makes it. But what he does is he chops his little videos up he chops one live stream up into about 3 or 4 different bite-sized portions, and then re-uploads them again at different times throughout the day. And so he makes 1 hour show last over 5 different streams, and he always does the premiere as well, so that people can give the opportunity to super chat him or give him PayPal donations. He also sells Octopus Energy. If you want to change your gas and electric to Octopus, you get £50 back. But obviously
he's
he
one
makes
of those.
money from that too. Yeah,
yeah.
And he's got his Patreon as well. So
yeah. So because obviously you've and I don't want to bang on only about Nathan Oakley, obviously, but he is quite a prominent figure in the UK flat Earth community, isn't he? So is he? The way he is on stream is kind of that what he's like when you're just having a chat with him. Is he that sort of? Because he strikes me as very authoritarian and very. It's my way or no way at all, and I'm always right, you were always wrong. He doesn't seem capable of bending at all.
Yeah, that's just an act. See, obviously, I spent a lot of time talking to him behind the scenes when I was a prominent member of his team. In fact, I helped build his show up, unfortunately. And what happened was we would spend hours and hours and hours after the show talking and going through some of the observations that I'd done and stuff like this. Because how his show got popular was because at that time when I could go down to the beach and see those great distances, before it became apparent that it was refraction that was the cause of that. That was when the show really started gaining some traction, because like I say, at that time there was no real comeback from the globe, so a lot of people were interested in these observations and stuff. So we would talk about this quite a lot after the show, and I remember at times that Sleeping Warrior would join, or Arwin and things like that, and we'd just sit around talking, and Nathan would be getting stoned out of his face, and he's a bit of a stoner, as you can probably tell. But yeah, so he would just chill out, and he would listen to us, and he would ask us questions, and then Sleeping Warrior would pop up with some kind of proof. And then Nathan would spin it around. I'd listen to these two talking, and they would spin it around and try to make it into some kind of flat Earth proof. For instance, I remember the time that he found I think it was to do with gravity, something to do with gravity. Hang on, it's not a force. Gravity's not a force, or something like that. I remember that sort of time, and it was like one citation somewhere. No, hang on. Well, no, it wasn't that. It was what was it? I can't remember now. I'll think of it before the end of the show. But basically, Sleeping Warrior found this one citation where it said something, and Nathan was like, "Oh, we need that," and then they ran with it, and it's part of their rhetoric now. This one citation that supersedes. That was it. Einstein superseded Newton, right? So they had one citation of somebody saying that. And they've ran with that ever since and said that now Newton's been debunked.
Yeah, but surely that's cherry picking, isn't it? Because they hear one guy say one thing that they think backs up what they believe, and now suddenly, like you say, everything else that's been said by everyone else is suddenly not valid. Yeah,
and again from the flat, and I'm going to harp on because I was a flat earther, so I understand their mentality. So from the mentality of the flat earther, they will say that the elites leave little breadcrumbs around for people to find. There's little trails of truth sprinkled here and there. And when you find something like this, it's all some deep plan from the elites to sort of like troll people, because they are putting this information out, but they're burying it away somewhere. So when somebody finds something like that, to the flat earther, it's like finding a treasure chest. It's like they hid this information. Now we have it, and to them it makes sense because it's part of the conspiracy mindset. It's part of their belief system, which is that there are truths out there. You've just got to find them. So when you find something like that, even if it's just one citation, that's all they need.
Yeah.
To make a whole story up about how Newton's been debunked now.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I know, it's nice. Well, listen, I'm sure there's going to be lots of people who'll have lots of questions for you, and hopefully they won't all be the same, type of question. But like I say, you've answered. My main question was, what what happened to you in the simplest of terms, you know. And I think you've more than explained that, you know. It was that, you know, just seeing too far, you said, wasn't it? And it kind of snowballed from there. So same question, jumping back over the fence, was there sort of the earth isn't flat after all? Was there a particular moment, or was it a series of events that led up to, you know, coming back to our team?
I think there was a series of events that led me into a situation where I was able to come back to the globe, but there was a single piece of evidence that popped up that absolutely 100% swayed it for me without any shadow of a doubt. I mean, I'd had some doubts in the community about some of the ways the like people from FE Core, for instance. I was part of FE Core for a time, and they did some tests. They built a gyroscope, a mechanical gyroscope, and it proved rotation. And they buried that information, and then they didn't want the person that built it to put the information out, and they threatened to sue him if he was going to release that information. Yeah.
So that information come up? Because obviously you're talking about the 15 degrees per hour drift clip that we all use now.
No, that was.
Oh no, that's not what you mean.
A different gyroscope. No. This is a mechanical gyroscope. So in FE Core, they took donations to do tests, and one of the guys that was part of the team spent a lot of money of his own money building this incredibly impressive mechanical gyroscope that could basically spin for about 3.5 minutes or so without any kind of interference, because he made it so precise. And then after about 3.5 minutes, it slowed down enough so that then, you know, there would be a discrepancy. But for 3.5 minutes or so, you had a perfect, you know, precision instrument that could detect what was happening if there was any kind of drift or anything, you know, or precession, any kind of precession. And what he did is he ran it in going forward, and then he ran it in reverse as well in case there was some kind of error with the actual machine that he built. And it showed the same drift. I think it was about 12.5 degrees. Now, for his latitude, that was absolutely perfect, you know. So that was absolutely within 0.2 of a degree of what it should have been. And it went the same direction every time. So reverse or forward, whatever. So it was absolutely concrete. And this was inside a basement. So it wasn't like you could say that the stars were rotating then, or the dome was rotating, because it was in a basement. So it was the walls that were moving. Right? So so it was obvious what was happening, and they buried that information and threatened to sue him. So there was that went on, and there was a few other things. Yeah, there was a few other things that went on. Bob's. I'm not going to get into it too much. I've spoken about it on my channel before, but they were definitely lying about stuff, and I started to have my doubts then, because I believe these guys were going to be putting the truth out. You know, I was doing my legwork with the observations and stuff. It was up to them and to find the other proofs. They were letting the side down, and they were hiding information I didn't like that. So what happened? Cut a long story short, I was basically burnt out. I was running my show from 10 o'clock at night till 2 o'clock in the morning. I was working full time. I was caring for my mum 30 hours a week as well. She had motor neuron disease. Sadly, she passed away last December. But basically, everything came to a head sort of like, I don't know, a year and a half ago, something like that. I got burnt out completely. And I was still a flat earther then, but I gave my channel away to somebody else and said, I've had enough. Take my channel, 5,300 subscribers. You run the show. You keep all the money. I'm not bothered. I'm going.
Yeah.
I'd had enough. I just needed to decompress. Conspiracy Cats offered me a show with him to do the Almost Unbelievable Paranormal podcast, which we did, and we made a promise never to talk about flat Earth. And I think that interaction with somebody that wasn't a flat earther, and we never talked about flat Earth, and he was just a nice guy, kind of like just chilled me out. And you know, I kind of moved away so much from the flat Earth at that time for a period of about 6 months, that when this image popped up, I actually just thought to myself, what a beautiful image. I need to do some analysis on this. And it turned out that my location that I'd been filming on all this time actually had dropped. and this was definitive. So it backed up everything the Globers had been saying about why I was seeing too far. They said you're seeing too far because refraction, and this image absolutely 100% proved it. And then it was repeated. The same observation was repeated over and over. Other people went to the same location, took the same photography. It was conclusive. There was no way in a million years that my location was flat. And there we go. So it was quite obvious then that it explained everything for me.
So has there ever been an instance that you can recall where, you know, when you were still involved with Nathan Oakley and Anthony Riley and that crowd, where collectively you all were presented with something and you all kind of knew that, well, yeah, this shows that the Earth is a globe, so let's say this, or should we just completely ignore it as if it hasn't been, you know, as if it hasn't happened? Was there ever a deliberate lie formulated because you could, and I don't mean you, Ranty, personally, obviously, but collectively, was there ever a piece of evidence presented to you that you couldn't kind of, you know, explain around and throughout, so the only option was to make something up?
Well, no, I never made anything up, but there were about 4 observations that completely stumped me.
And I wasn't singling you out, mind, Ranty. I mean that community collectively. I'm not trying to, you know, make you look like a div or anything. It's a genuine question.
Well, I'm going to answer it from my point of view, which was that there was about 4 observations that cropped up, funnily enough, that had the same type of thing that I was looking for with this Blackpool image, which was there was a point A, a point B, and a point C, and then there was a drop between point B and point C. So from that point, you could actually do the analysis. And every observation that I was stumped on was that type of observation. And I have readily said, I don't have an answer for that, but I'll keep looking. You know, I'll keep looking for answers for that. But I think the whole Flat Earth community don't lie on purpose, genuinely. So people like Sleeping Warrior and Nathan Oakley, and I can't stand what they're doing. I can't stand that they've got people trapped in a cycle of despair, because that's what it is. When you're a flat earther, you're absolutely totally spent. It affects every part of your life, your family, your friends, your sleep patterns, everything, right? So I hate what they're doing, but I can't throw them under the bus and say that they're deliberately lying, because I think they're just looking for that one. Every time they encounter something that seems like an absolute stone cold win for the globe, they will go out of their way to try and find anything they can to try and explain it away. And it doesn't matter how ludicrous it sounds, because to them it probably makes sense, right? So I'm not going to say that they're lying purposely. I just feel that they are so hell-bent on finding answers that can be a contrarian kind of thing to the original point, and they will do anything to find it. So you know, so I'm not going to throw them under that. I would love to throw them under the bus and say that they have, but I can't do it because I don't think they do.
Yeah, but
I think they're just so.
Yeah, you know, I you know, obviously your answer there is from your perspective, isn't it? From, you know, that was your experience of it, but I don't know. I've always had this sort of crazy idea in the back of my mind that none of you really truly believe the Earth is flat. You just had your doubts and became so involved that you just went with it. So let's go back 2 years when Ranty Flat Earth was you, because I know that's not you anymore. Was your mind sort of in kind of an argument with itself where you would say, but I can see too far, so therefore the Earth is flat? But in your mind you were saying, come on, Ranty, you know it's a globe, because you're an intelligent, articulate guy. You're not stupid, clearly. You know, was there any inner sort of dialogue going on?
No. As daft as it's, I'd like to say that I could redeem myself and say that this was the case, but no, I was totally gone with it. You know, I was totally into that. And for me, I readily admitted that if you can explain to me, or if I can have an answer that explains why I see too far in my location, I'll come back to the globe, no problem. No problem at all, because I didn't get involved with the other arguments. I listened to the other arguments, but I think it'll be very, very rare, once in a blue moon, you'll ever hear me repeating anything to do with gas pressure or anything like that. I mean, I may have mentioned it at some point, but it was very infrequent. I mean, I only stayed to what I was comfortable talking about, which was observations. And anything else, I didn't really get involved with. I let people do their research on that. And for me, I just needed my answer. My answer was, my kryptonite was an observation. Explain to me why I see too far and prove it. And I actually tried to prove refraction in my location. I tried to go out and find it, and I did lots of different tests to try and see whether or not I could do it, and I couldn't do that. But this observation from a different location showed me what I needed to do to answer that question for me. But no, I was total belief that the Earth was flat.
Yeah.
But a recent video that I put out that on Simon Dan's actually was that, I think looking back, I was more of a globe skeptic, because a true flat earther believes every single conspiracy going. And I didn't believe every conspiracy going. In fact, a couple of years ago, there was a big thing going off. Obviously, we've been in lockdown for some time. And because of that initial, the beginning of that, I was talking about that quite a lot, but telling everybody that it was true and real, and people needed to prepare for it. And my subscribers, which were all flat earthers, were saying, no, it's not true. It's not real. Don't believe it, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, no, it is. And we had, so I fell out with my audience at that time because obviously the true flat earthers in them believed that it was a conspiracy.
Yeah.
And that shows a difference, you see. And people like Jake the A, I'm not going to say his full name.
Yeah.
All my videos with Jake the A, and then the thing in the title, have been what's crippled my ad revenue on my channel, because putting that in the title.
He's a thoroughly dislikable guy as well, isn't he?
Yeah. Well, him, CC, what's he called? That other guy lives in his basement with a boiler behind him.
Oh, Daniel Pratt.
Yeah, him. And those sort of guys, they're the true flat earthers. The ones that will bash the head on every conspiracy going. But then you look at the other side of the other people like Bob Nodell and Jeranism, and they rarely talk about this other stuff. They're just focused on the flat earth, and they're very commercial. They'll happily go on the TV, and they'll happily do documentaries and things like that. And the same with Mark Sargent. And that really irks the true flat earthers, because they would never do that. They would never get in bed with the mainstream media, because they're seen as the enemy.
Yeah.
So that's the two different sides inside the flat earth. You've got the mainstream ones that are seen as shills, and the real true flat earthers that believe everything and are real nasty with it as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Somebody's just asked a question in the side chat. I'm hoping you can see it on the screen. Now that you don't have to distrust everyone due to a constant stream of conspiracies, have your own personal stress levels gone down? Do you find yourself being more charitable? I think you kind of just partly answered that, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I've never slept better in my life. When somebody says when they say, oh, you're asleep, or they're woke, right? So if they're woke, that's because they don't sleep, because they're worried about conspiracies all the time. That's why they're woke. I'm asleep, yeah, because I sleep very well now. I very happily go and get my 8-9 hours sleep every night. My bags have gone down under my eyes. I know I've still got a little few bags there, but honestly, they were like that.
Yeah.
I could carry my shopping home in them when I was a flat earther. So they've gone down too. I've lost weight. I've lost over 3 stone in the past 6 months. So everything seems to be turning around. When you're a flat earther, your mind's a mess, your body's a mess, your life's a mess, everything's a mess. Because everything's a conspiracy. But when you break free from that, you're just released, and I do feel so much happier. And doing my new channel now, it's just great. I've got a new community. Everyone seems to be pulling for me, which is good, and giving them these insights, because my main focus is to bring people out of that conspiracy mindset if I can. It's a tough ask to do, because I know what it was like being down that well.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that as a question. Do you feel now that do you feel obliged to try and help people do what you did?
Yeah, and that is exactly what I'm trying to do. I mean, I do go after the big channels and I explain to them what they are doing to them. And then I talk about mental health. I talk about it and be open. I've been open about it myself, and I've talked about things that have happened to me in the past very openly. And I've talked about how at some point in my life I was actually suicidal and tried to actually do myself in and things like this. So there has been a lot of times in my life that I have been really down. But if I can open myself up and say, look, this is how I ended up falling into flat earth, and it was because of all this cumulative things that led up to that. And if you're suffering with that same kind of thing, and you can see that this is maybe that's maybe how you got into this too. And if I can also point out then also the points with like Nathan Oakley, all the brainwashing tactics that he does and how he does it and why he's doing it, which is, and then a flat earther comes across those videos and listens to it, there's a chance that they can come back. I'm not going to say it's a big chance, it's probably a very slim chance. But if I educate other people too, like yourself, if I'm telling you something now that you take away and then you meet a flat earther in the real life some point, and they say, "Oh, you Creaky, oh, I'm a flat earther," and then you say, "Well, hey, have you got any?" Maybe you wouldn't say this to them, but maybe you could do. Have you got any mental health problems? But
Yeah.
but if you educate them, because it might be a family member or a friend of yours that falls down this conspiracy rabbit hole, and you might be able to speak to them on a better level if you kind of understand where they're coming from.
Yeah. So
rather than just mocking them.
I think somebody's shilling for you in the side chat.
Super chat.
And he's paid for the privilege. So apparently you're live later on tonight.
Oh yes, I am. What time is it now? Actually,
it's 8:30 now.
In about an hour and a half, I'm doing my first ever subscriber stream, because I've passed all those mile streams in the past, but I've never done a subscriber sort of like happy subscriber live stream. But I have now. I've passed 8,000 subs, and I think it's time to do a live stream.
Going live is absolutely awesome, right? I haven't done my normal Creaky Blinder live streams for probably over a month now, since before Christmas. No, sorry, I've done one since the new year, but I don't want people to think that this is replacing those live streams. This is a completely separate thing. The reason I'm recording it on this channel and on a Sunday is because I know there's a lot of you about, and I know that it'll get more views, and then they get uploaded to the second channel. So go over and subscribe over there as well. Right, we've got a couple of people waiting to ask you a question. Ranty, are you cool with that?
Absolutely, yeah.
Right, let's rock and roll then. So let me just pre-warn everybody. This is the part of the show where things could possibly, maybe slightly go wrong, but I hope not. Can the green room hear me? No, they can't. I'm still connecting. Discord is being really slow connecting me. So just talk amongst yourselves. Oh, there we go. So can the side chat, and more importantly, can Ranty hear the guys in the green room? Say hello, everyone. Uh-oh, it looks like Ranty can't hear anything. No?
No.
Oh, shit balls. That's going to make it really difficult to ask him questions. Could the side chat hear it?
I could always listen on the stream.
Oh, no, they can't hear any. Can you hear it on the stream, Ranty?
I could perhaps hear it on the stream if I turn it on, yeah.
No, the stream can't hear it either. Fantastic. Right. Right, Ranty, has that changed anything for you? I've just changed it in Discord settings.
Okay, let's see if anybody's speaking.
Right, can you still hear me, guys? No, can't hear anything, Ranty. Fan-bloody-tastic. Right then.
You can always pass the message on.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to have to do. And I've just got one more thing I can check. Chat mic system. Right, hopefully they can still hear me, and even more hope. Yeah, you were still there, I'm still here. Is Ranty hearing anything apart from my voice?
No, don't hear it.
Can the side chat hear you? And Ranty, you can't hear them, pal, can you?
No.
Right.
I could always join the. Oh, mind you. I suppose I could join the Discord, couldn't I?
Next, bro, I need a
could stay on
soundbite
this-
of
I
that. I definitely
if
need a
I-
soundbite of that. Email me.
If I mute the VMix call, I could jump into the Discord channel, couldn't I?
Right, Ranty, I think you may have just been saying this. Do you want to join the Discord server? Just mute in here. I think it's the only way. Because the side chat can hear us, but they can't hear Discord. So I knew there'd be some sort of tech issue. Apologies, but it's me, isn't it? Did you expect it to go well? It's the first time I've ever live streamed with this software. It's really swanky. I just don't know how to work it properly. So I'm going to let Ranty join the Discord server. And Ranty, what you need to do, pal, right? You need to join the green room. No, sorry, underneath the green room, you'll see live 1, live 2, and live 3. If you jump into live 1, I shall meet you in there, and hopefully the side chat will be able to hear everything. So I'm going in there now. Just talk amongst yourselves, everyone, while we sort this out. I could fade to black because I've got a button for that now while we sort it out, but I'm also afraid that it may disconnect the live stream. Right. Right, Ranty, welcome, pal. Hopefully the side chat can hear this as well. It's working on test the other day. What did you twiddle and break? I didn't twiddle and break anything, Purple Snowdrop. Yeah, but you are right. It was working the other day. I shall have to consult with somebody. Right, could the side chat hear Ranty? Yeah, they can. Right, okay then. I'm just going to jump. Well, actually, I know Brian's got the stream up. Brian, do you wanna move the first asker of questions across, please? There we are. We have Tiny Captain. Good evening, pal. How are you doing? Oh, right. Whereabouts? Ah, right, cool. Ranty, can you hear Tiny Captain? And can the side chat hear Tiny Captain? I really hope so. Couldn't hear Ranty. This is just going so well. Are they winding me up, are they? Stop it! Right, Tiny Captain, fire away. Ask your question, mate.
Might be that they can't hear us, actually, Creaky. Hopefully. Yeah, no, it's good. They're back on now. Yep. Yes.
Well, I will ask it again. Well, it is actually a question that is actually important for all other people that are still in doubt. Ranty, how did you feel to be welcomed back with open arms again when you discovered it was actually a globe?
I didn't expect to. I didn't expect to get welcome back with open arms. That's one thing that I didn't expect, because I thought that there was this enemy and that they would all hate me, but they didn't. And that's the echo. I can hear the echo. That's
Right,
why I'm
yeah.
there.
I know why, but it's the only way I can make the calls come through, I think, anyway. Yeah.
I did the Conspiracy Cats. I did the video with him and Rue here, and then about a month after that, I set my new channel up, and then FTFE shouted me out, and Conspiracy Cats did too. I think within a month or so, I think I got something ridiculous like 3,000 subscribers. So that gave me a massive boost to carry on putting the content out. So it was very welcoming.
Well, yeah, thank
There you
you.
go.
But, I hope it will help the rest of the people that are in doubt to actually don't think we are enemies. So, well, hope they it will help change their minds.
I think this is what Ranty's hoping for, that he can, you know, because he said as much earlier on that he can, you know, sort of get some people back. I don't want to say back to reality, but essentially that's what it is, isn't it? Back to reality. Somebody in the side chat is saying, I know this is a crazy idea, but maybe it would be worth testing out the technology before going live. I did plenty of times, but that's the thing with technology. It doesn't care what you want it to do. It just seems to do what it feels like doing. So, apologies if it's spoiling your free viewing pleasure. Yeah, it worked. Kind of. Sort of. Yeah, I've turned the echoey bit off, but I've got to turn it on for them to hear Discord, I think. Right, thank you, Tiny Captain. We will get the next one in. Speak to you soon, pal. Bryce, do you want to send the next one in if you dare? Good evening, Next Pro. How are you, pal?
Of the Creaky server.
How you doing, mate?
I'm doing very well, Creaky. How are you this evening?
I'm living the dream. Absolutely overjoyed.
Well, I'm not that famous.
Well,
I'm not famous at all.
You're a regular now.
I am. It's because I eat prunes.
Yeah. Maybe I should take some tips out of you a book. What's your question, mate?
So my question is for Ranty. Where do we go now? What's the future for you with this flat Earth?
Well, I think the future is going to lie in not just flat Earth. I think, to be honest, I've seen a decline in flat Earth over the past year. Most of the channels aren't getting anywhere near as views as they used to, and pretty much the globe Earth have got the arguments locked down now. So, yeah, apart from Nathan Oakley, which is the last real barrier and hurdle to cross, once he's finished off, which he'll only go when the money dries up. So if we can get rid of him financially, once his money dries up, he'll be gone, and that'll be it, I think. So other conspiracies, go after them. Talk about how they led me down the rabbit hole, and yeah. So yeah, hopefully I want to have a few more thousand subscribers by this time next year. That'd be nice. I could double my subscribers in another year.
Well, if you keep up the good work, that's on the cards.
Hope so.
I think a big part of it's going to be for you as well, Randy, because I think, I'm not saying that your word would mean more than, say, mine or Cat's or anything, but everybody that watches this style of content knows what you used to be. And I know maybe that sounds horrible, a horrible way of saying it, but you kind of get what I'm saying. And I think that, you know, maybe you will be more of a convincing voice to somebody who's involved in Flat Earth than, say, my voice would be.
Yeah, I think I was just lost for a time, and I openly accept it. there's nothing I can do. I can't change things. It's made me what I am today.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
If
See,
I
that's
can make
the problem is most people won't admit that thing, and they just continue to misunderstand or choose to or just not believe when things are just presented to them on a silver platter, like you said earlier on.
Yeah, I think a lot of it's the community as well.
Yeah.
Them, they need this. They've got friends there. They've got some kind of idea that they're better than other people in a lot of ways, even though they're not.
Yeah.
It's how they believe themselves to be, because they believe that they're the awoke ones, the enlightened ones.
Yeah. I know. It's I just think a lot of it is quite sad that people buy into that sort of thing in the first place.
Ranty, what would you say the personal cost to you in terms of your, I don't know, self-esteem, that sort of thing? The cost of actually being, the emotional cost of being a flat earther. Would you say that's significant?
Yeah. I mean, I'll take this out because I can't do with the echo, but oh God, crikey. I finished my degree in 2013, so I've just done a full honours degree, and that was in media design. So it was quite technical, and I had a world of opportunity there and then. But that was at the same time that I started finding these conspiracies online, and instead of devoting my time to that and doing a decent job and getting out of decorating, I ended up falling into conspiracies. So so it affected me in that way, because it was a waste of 3 years basically. I took on a full honours degree, passed it with flying colours, but never put it to any good use really. And then emotionally, it's a super drain. I mean, I was quite honestly at the point of breaking about 18 months ago. I was just totally and utterly spent. I mean, I'd lived flat Earth 20 hours a day for the past 5 years. That was my life. That was all I ever thought about. Even when I was doing other things, it was all I could think about. And to not have that now is such a relief. So refreshing.
One of the things that we notice when we get in voice chats with flat earthers is that they have a tendency to raise the temperature of the discussion, shall we say. Would you say that when you were a flat earther, you were more easily triggered?
No, I mean, if you watch my debate platform, it was specifically designed so that never happened. So what happened with Nathan Oakley when he got triggered, it upset me because I wanted the dialogue. I wanted people to have a voice. He wasn't allowing that. So I set my own platform up and I took a complete backseat and let other people come on, present their own evidence. Even globe earthers come on, do full presentations for an entire show and then just hang up the ball. It's like, my audience will listen to the globe argument, regardless of whether they like it or not. They will listen to it. And I never got triggered too much with other people.
So you never lost your sense of fair play then?
Oh, no, I was always... I think that's why, like Creaky was saying, there was never really any reason for him to come after me because I didn't step out of line too much.
I think it's interesting though, because I think that's why I don't get that many flat earthers make videos about me, because of the way I approach it. Well, how did you describe it the other day? Like a mockumentary style?
Yeah, it is kind of like a mockumentary
yeah, and
style.
I think that's a fairly accurate way of describing it, and I think that's the reason why I don't get many flat earthers making videos in reply to, Jake made one a couple of months ago, but I don't care. I'm a grown-up. I'm a big boy. It makes no difference to me, what some random guy on the internet, thinks of me. But I'm sure, that there are people within the flat earth community and within any other community online that get really badly affected by constantly being, feeling like there's shots being fired because of what they believe.
Yeah, with Nathan Oakley, though, he loves the attention. In fact, if it was anybody else puts a video out about him, he puts thanks for the advert. With me and all the videos I've put out, he's never once been over, but he definitely knows I'm doing videos about him. So I think he's that triggered with me that he can't even come over and leave a thanks for the advert, which he does with everyone else.
Yeah.
The thing is, Creaky, the thing that makes them scared, it's your presentation skills are exceptional.
So, sorry, were you talking to me then or Ranty? I
I
just
was
assumed
talking to you, Creaky.
Oh, right. Oh, well, in that case, thank you very much indeed. I appreciate that. But like I say, I am very aware that I tackle flat earthers and everyone else I look at in a very different way to, anyone else that makes this style of content.
And you understand the meaning of CGI.
I most definitely do. CGI.
Which a lot of flat earthers don't understand.
Yeah, I know. It's I'm just wasted. I should just make 3-second sound clips like that and sell them all over the internet.
Which leads me to my next question, if I can ask another one.
Yeah, sure.
Ranty. Ranty, did you find yourself correcting the other flat earthers when they got CGI wrong, what CGI actually means? Did you find yourself correcting them or just letting them say what they wanted to say?
Them say they're all stupid. I didn't get involved. If they had an opinion, I'm not going to stop them from having an opinion.
But you knew yourself the difference between composite images and actual CGI, right?
Yeah.
Because of what you did in your degree, right?
Yeah, I remember when Sleeping Warrior was turning around and saying that there was CGI birds at Lake Pontchartrain, and I did pull him up on it, and I told him it was a load of old crap. So, yeah, I did have those conversations at time, but for the most part, I enjoyed them making idiots of themselves, because that took the attention from me. Sleeping Warrior won his awards, right?
Yeah, he certainly did.
For a good reason, because he was so stupid.
Just remind everybody what the name of that award was.
That's the DFOTY. That's the Dumb FDUK of the Year award.
Yeah. So, Creaky, maybe I should step out now and you can sort of bring someone else in.
Okay, mate. Thank you very much for participating. As always, your badge will be in the post.
Thank you. And we'll do that email thing about the voiceovers.
Yeah, 100%. Creaky@creakyblinder.com.
Indeed. Okay.
Nice one, mate.
Chuck me out.
Oh, yeah. I forgot I got to do that. Bye! Benji the happy little fox just asked a really good question, and I can't bloody find it in the side chat. So if anybody does want to ask a question, could you put a big letter Q at the beginning of it so that it stands out and I can see straight away that it is a question for either myself or Ranty. Mr. Pop Robson, if you'd like to send over the next victim, we will get another question answered. What is this stream sounding like, everybody? I have no idea now whether it's mega echoey or what the hell's going on, but it is what it is. We're fully committed at this point.
Well, we'll find out, I guess.
Yeah, we most certainly will. How are you doing, Jerry Lass?
Hi, I'm actually Sarah from Munich.
Right, sorry. What's your question? And is it for me, or is it for Ranty, or is it for both of us?
Okay, I try to figure out the echo thing.
First, sorry.
First thing, Ranty, congrats to get out of this shite. I can imagine that it's a massive relief. And it's quite interesting. I just learned that your basic is, or your background is also in graphic and graphic design, and that's mine also a few years earlier. But so I always had the thing looking at these stuff made by these flat earthers. How, for heaven's sake, could you take that serious? I don't get it.
I think I got most of that because we got an echo here So I'm gonna try and answer what I thought you said. I think the question was basically something along the lines of how being a graphic designer and working in that and getting a degree in media design that I could fall into the trap of flat Earth. Well, like I say, you don't just wake up one day and become a flat earther. It's a progression. You end up becoming a flat earther because you've looked into other conspiracies and you've had that part of the wall has been chipped away at you. So if somebody had said to me in 2013 the Earth's flat, I'd have said, don't be stupid. But after going through all the other conspiracies where they chip away at you and chip away at you and chip away at you, you end up being in a situation where you are susceptible to that. It reduces that barrier that stops you from thinking straight. It is kind of like a brainwashing thing that happens to you. I think any conspiracy person that's been in that will say the same thing. If you've been in a cult, you end up being in a cult, and it's a type of brainwashing. Well, being a conspiracy theorist is the same thing. And it was real heavy back then. There was a lot of people talking about it online. YouTube was just filled with it. They've banned most of the people now that were the architects of all those conspiracies. People like InfoWars and people like the guy, the lizard man, forget his name now, David Icke. Yeah, so a lot of the people that were putting all these conspiracies out on YouTube and had big followings, well, they've all been kicked off now. But the horse had bolted from the gate back then because it was just rife. Everywhere you looked on YouTube, there was conspiracies. You started watching one, you got presented with 10 more, and eventually you just end up brainwashed.
So looking back now, Ranty, is there a split situation, kind two different persons, the conspiracy Ranty and the Ranty now, or is there a kind of wall in between these two personas? How do you define that for yourself?
Okay, so on my channel, I've got an alter ego called Ranty. I'm Flerfspective, and I've got my twin brother, which is Ranty. He's still a flat earther, so he's still the conspiracy theorist. So through him, I'm able to put out the conspiracy side of me, which would be, if there was a belief in chemtrails or something like that, I could make the argument from the Ranty perspective and hopefully debunk it with the Flerfspective perspective. But inside each of those conspiracies, there's always a grain of truth. For instance, inside of the chemtrail argument, you have this idea that they put chemicals in the planes and then they disperse the chemicals from the planes. So that was the idea back, when you're talking about chemtrails and stuff, and it's called cloud seeding, stuff like that, and geoengineering. It was denied for the longest time in the debunking community. So they didn't even want to accept that was a true thing, even though the chemtrailers knew it was going on. But of course, then they add some extra layers to that. They say other things like, well, it's not just geoengineering, it's all these other things that are going to destroy your DNA, it's going to destroy your ability to have children and things like this. So they add all these extra layers on, and because the debunking community isn't even accepting that geoengineering is a thing, what will happen is you end up with this huge divide, and then there's an opportunity there for the conspiracy theorists to add all these layers on. So when you're talking about chemtrails, it always starts with a grain of truth. But I think the debunking community needs to accept that inside of each of these conspiracies, there is a grain of truth, and accept that there's that grain of truth. So that then there's nowhere for this divide to happen. For the two sets of arguments to start breaking away, and then the conspiracy side to just run rampant and tell you all these daft things that are going to happen, right? Because that's the difference. It always starts with a grain of truth.
So I hope that has answered your question.
Just one follow-up.
Yeah.
So asking the conspiracy Ranty, where's a grain of truth in flat Earth?
Um, no, there's no truth in flat Earth, but the idea that you see too far is true, and I think with a lot of the flat earthers, that's a real difficult hurdle for them to get over because they can't accept that what you see isn't true. You know, if you see too far, you're told that your eyes, and you're supposed to believe your what's it called, your senses, trust your senses. So if your eyes are seeing that you can see something, they can't process it that it's not true. A lot of them have difficulty seeing in 3D and visualizing things in 3D. They're all very two-dimensional. So if they see something that's too far, that's all they need, and they haven't got the ability to, or the comprehension to pull themselves out of that. Doesn't mean the Earth's flat though.
Okay, that wraps up a lot. That wraps up a lot of me, a lot for me, because that's an impression I got that many of them are kind of disabled, viewing impaired, something like that. This it's too illogical. I cannot go down this rabbit hole. I even cannot think myself down this hole. That's my problem with most conspiracies, and at the end, I cannot think them. I'm not religious. I'm not used to this kind of thinking. That's so I don't get a grasp on it. How one really gets into it. That's what I really don't understand.
Okay, so I'll just say one analogy and put it in a different way. Imagine you're out with your mates one day and you see a girl in a bar, and every time you go out into this bar, you see the same girl every single time for 2 years. So you go out every night and you see the same girl in the bar for 2 years, and you've started to talk to her. But when you first saw her, she didn't appeal to you. She wasn't your type. She wasn't good looking. She didn't dress well. But then over the 2 year period that you speak to them, you suddenly find that you're really attracted to them, and then you enjoy the company, and then you end up falling in love with them. So it's not instantaneous. You know, you just don't fall into a conspiracy and start and believe it immediately. You have to have gone down the rabbit hole bit by bit by bit to end up being susceptible to the most outrageous conspiracies. It always starts off somewhere, and it's a slow progression. Nobody just wakes up one day and thinks the Earth's flat.
If you're to believe Nathan Oakley, though, from his appearance on Vice, that's exactly what happened with him. I woke my wife up because I suddenly realized the Earth was flat. So...
Yeah, my last video that I put out, I actually show a bit of a conversation we had, and it was at a time when he was trying to kick off this Ball Busters show in direct competition with Bob's Globe Busters show, and I called him out and said I don't want any part of it, and the reasons why I was unhappy with the name that he'd chosen. And I also then said to him, listen, you are a YouTuber and I am in this for the truth. So I know you're doing this for an agenda, just to have an argument with Bob and to try and win subscribers over, but I'm in it for the truth. And that's exactly what he is. If you asked him, he will openly admit that he's a YouTuber first, and then he's a flat earther. It's not the other way around. With me, I was a flat earther that started a YouTube channel. He is a YouTuber that puts out flat earth content. There's a big difference.
Well, that's always my problem with stuff like that. Also with religion, it's hard for me to really believe that somebody actually believes it. That's my main issue with all of that going on, anti-vaxxers, whatever. Maybe the people on the street, yes, I get that. But people who are actually running the show, who, if it's a pope or priest or an anti-vax guy making money with it, I can't get my head to believe that they really, really are into it. And that's what bugs me the most on all of that. And that's the reason why I really want to do something against this bollocks. Simply because I see people are making money with it and people die of false beliefs, not flat earthers, of course, but just this all anti-vax and anti-mask thing is just turning me insane. So, in your experience, how is the split? Are the main figures actually really the guys making the money, or are they leading figures who actually really believe in it?
So I caught most of that because we got this massive echo. So if the audience is looking at my face, it's probably because I'm trying to hear the same conversation repeated almost instantly. So really difficult to hear exactly what you're saying. As regards your ability not to understand what I'm trying to say, or that other people can believe into conspiracies,
Randy,
then
let
I
me
would
just
say
jump
that's
in.
the fault with
I
your
think
reasoning rather than mine, or other people's. You know, if you can't comprehend that, that's your problem.
I think Randy,
It happens, but people do fall into conspiracies, and you know, and that's why there's conspiracies out there. That's why there's people that believe them, and that's why people that do end up being in those situations. If that's something to do with some kind of mental illness or something in their
Sorry,
life that actually led to that point, it probably is a contributing factor for sure. But that doesn't mean that they aren't believing what they're telling other people they believe in, because they genuinely do. And everyone's different, you know, everyone's built differently. You have skills in some arena, I'm sure, as other people do too. And if I was good at everything and understood everything, then I wouldn't be on YouTube. I'd be a millionaire somewhere doing some brilliant job somewhere. But we all have our limits, and clearly you have your limits, which is why you can't comprehend how flat earthers believe what they believe.
yeah, Randy,
sorry, one clarification. It was not about, I cannot wrap my head around that somebody believes it at all. I cannot get my head around that the people running the show, the forerunners, the popes in this kind of meaning, that they really believe in it. That's my problem.
So you're asking, are the people that have got the channels, the ones that are pushing this, are they doing it because they believe it, or are they doing it because they're in it for the money? Well, the true flat earther genuinely really doesn't do it for the money. The person that's sitting on the fence, let's say, or that's trying to just look into the idea that the earth is flat, you know, that has this globe, let's say they're a globe skeptic, right? So if you're a globe skeptic and you're still performing experiments, then you genuinely, if you're still performing experiments, you're not 100% a flat earther, because you wouldn't be, you'd just know the earth was flat if you was a flat earther, you wouldn't need to prove it. So people like Jeranism and Bob that will say that's the truth. I definitely know Nathan is.
Randy, can you hear me?
Isn't a flat earther. He does it for content. He does it so that he can sit at home all day. Money. He may want to do it for fame because he's so outrageous. But you can always see the divide between different people. You know, who's the true ones and who's doing it for the money. So
Randy,
I couldn't really say for sure with Bob and Jerry.
Randy, can you hear me, mate? Or can you hear me now, Randy?
Yeah, sorry, I took my.
Right. I thought you were just going off on a tangent, because all I was going to say, to simplify it, but it's too late now anyway, is it was essentially what I asked you earlier on. Do you think I agree, and I can't get my head around that people really think the Earth is flat. And I think that's the point that was being made, but you've explained it now anyway. So thank you very much. We're going to move on to the next caller because we've got a few people queuing to ask Ranty a question, and I'm getting incredibly stressed out because this is not going quite how I'd imagined it. Brian, do you want to send the next one in? And can the side chat still hear me while we're waiting, Ranty? The happy little fox, aka Benji's question that he sent through earlier on was what happened to the conspiracies that he remembers when he was at school, like the government were hiding extraterrestrials, UFO technology, and that there was a secret alien base on the dark side of the moon.
Going there.
Well, crikey. Yeah, I loved space when I was a kid. So I loved listening to all those conspiracies, and I think there's some channels out there now that get promoted by Discovery Channel and stuff like that, Ancient Aliens and things like that. So they're all into those conspiracies.
Yeah.
And I think that the most conspiracies maybe have some kind of truth to them. JFK maybe, and things like that.
Yeah.
So
they are the ones that I see as legitimate conspiracy theories, the ones that were eventually proven to have actually happened, rather than, the Earth is flat. Right, we have, sorry, some old dude, I muted you then because I'm not sure who can hear me and who can't. Apologies that you couldn't unmute yourself earlier on. I've been clicking buttons and I clearly clicked the wrong one, so I could hear you, hopefully you can hear me, and hopefully Ranty will be able to hear your question. So fire away, pal, when you're ready.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm never going to forgive you for that. Can you hear me?
I will just hang my head in shame.
Well, that won't do no good. Then you'll blind me.
I'm a terrible person. Hey, now then. I've just got a very high forehead. How are you, pal?
And I have a very low brow. How you doing?
Yeah, very good, very good. What's your question, man?
Hey, Ranty. First off, what is your quest? Oh, wait, that's the wrong list of questions.
Are you still logged into vMix?
Yeah,
I mean, not logged in, but I mean, have you got it muted there?
I'm not sure what's happening, Ranty, to be honest with you. I've got the button that makes you hear Discord causes an echo, but if I turn that button off, I can't hear you because you're muted in vMix, if that makes sense.
Okay. So if I unmute myself in vMix, and you mute yourself,
should we try it?
Try that.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
Right. I've unmuted. Have you muted? Now I can't hear you. So I'm getting you through vMix.
It's through vMix. You'll have to stay muted in vMix while you're answering questions, unfortunately. And I will do some extensive research and try and fix the problem ready for the next one. It's my fault. I completely hold my hands up to it. My bad. Sorry, some old dude. Ask away.
You just ruined my first joke. That's okay. So, Ranty, I only ever really noticed you after you had converted to the light side, not the dark side. So, do you still have a lot of videos that you produced or made when you were a true believer in the flat Earth?
I gave my channel away to a guy called Brandon, and he's renamed it, and it's called Brandon's. And all my old videos are up there. All my old debates are up there. All my old, everything's there basically. And he only did maybe 70 or 80 videos himself, live streams, and the channel's basically gone dead now for the past 3 months. But if you want to see all of those old videos, just look up the channel Brandon's.
Well, I don't want to sound weird, but it would be interesting to sort of see what you had to say before so I can compare that with what you're saying now. But I gather that you switched over to the globe after you'd done some investigating on your own with the correct kind of investigation techniques. If that is that correct? I mean, you were like trying to see a proof for yourself and watch the ships disappearing over the ocean and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, in my location, I could see 18, 20, at some points 24 miles, almost shore to shore, from observational heights of 1 foot, 2 foot, right next to the water, lying on my belly with a P1000, seeing pretty much shore to shore, 20 miles away. Totally impossible on a geometric globe.
Yeah.
And I wanted proof that refraction was real, and I also wanted proof that my location had some kind of curvature. And that's all I was interested in. And I told people this numerous times. This was the one thing I wanted to find for me. And then an image popped up which showed my location from a different point of view, and it had some distinctive positions of a mountain, and Blackpool Tower was in the foreground, and then the mountains were in the background. And when I did the calculations on it, it was quite clear that between Blackpool and the mountain, there was a substantial drop, which was the location that I was filming between. So it was definitive. You know, there was no getting around it, that location had dropped. So other people went and repeated the observation, and over and over and over, it showed the same thing, that my location definitely had dropped. So that answered my question about refraction. That explained why I was able to see these great distances. So it only worked on a globe Earth. It didn't work on a flat plane. And once I understood that and accepted it, it was quite easy to come back to the globe.
Okay. I got a question about how you were thinking during those times. Did it ever occur to you how you were yourself looking for, proof you could see with your own eyes that there was literally tons of situations where the shape of the earth was important in modern technology and stuff, and that the scope of what the conspiracy would be if it was really flat? I mean, just a cursory examination of things like how navigation is done, the history of navigation. I find it hard to understand why the overwhelming amount of usage of the spherical Earth by people all over the globe. Doesn't that strike you as? Didn't that strike you back then as sort of strange that if the world were flat, all this stuff wouldn't work, and yet it seemed to work? I mean, sort of like I guess what I'm saying is, why would you think that you needed to personally confirm it if every person that has ever sailed a ship more than a few dozen miles has had to deal with it? I guess. You know what I'm saying? Sort of.
Well, yeah.
Not that it isn't a good thing to confirm it for yourself, but still, is it just the conspiracy mindset that you get sort of narrow visioned and you don't see the bigger picture?
I think what that sounds like to me, Ranty, is why wouldn't you just accept the tons of evidence that's already available? You felt you had to verify evidence that's been verified multiple times before.
Yeah, that's sort of what I'm saying. Yeah.
Okay, so as a I'm just going to unplug now for a minute so I can't hear you. Just one sec. So as a conspiracy theorist, the whole thing about being a conspiracy theorist is that you can't trust authority. You cannot, everything that you've been told is a lie, and that behind all of this is this, this family or a group of people or a series of families that are navigating a pathway for humanity in one way or another. And being a conspiracy theorist, you're always thinking the worst. and the conspiracy theorist is always saying that there's this agenda and this agenda, and you can't believe the mainstream of anything, even the media. The media are the mouthpiece of the elites. So you can't believe the media, you can't believe the scientists, you can't believe everything. And you get into this mindset of believing that mantra. You start to believe that that is the way you need to conduct your business, because if everybody's lying to you, you can only really trust yourself. So basically you regress, you go back into just, denial. And I'm not clever enough to understand celestial navigation, right? I understand the premise of the sextant and how that works. Could I actually go out and use it? Probably if I was taught it, but I don't have a need to learn it, so I'm not going to go out of my way to understand it. Same as, do I need to understand how fusion works? Do I need to understand that? Well, no. But if I'm going to be tackling that in an argument, I would be doing it out of the place of incredulity and not having any idea about what the hell I'm talking about. So when I come up against somebody that is trained in that, the default position would be, from the conspiracy theories, would be to deny what they're saying, because they are part of the elites. So, basically, you just got to trust yourself. You can't believe anybody else. That's how the conspiracy mindset works.
And can I ask a follow-up question?
Sure.
Do you think that since you were used to think that kind of way, do you worry that you might possibly slip into that kind of thinking over some other subject, or say some heated disagreement about political matters or something, where you're gonna start, your mind's gonna go back into the old groove of not trusting authorities and stuff? For some other belief, or do you think you've gained any more respect for sort of the I guess the default received wisdom, or whatever you want to call it, the sort of standard view, like the view of experts? You confirmed that the experts weren't lying to you about the shape of the earth, but do you think that you might still have a problem accepting what the experts say, since you spent so much time doubting everybody about some subject? I'm just curious.
Right, okay. So let me answer that. For the longest part of my life, I wasn't a conspiracy theorist. So it was only, I'm 46, nearly 47 now. So if you say that, well, I was about 38, something like that, when I started to look into conspiracies. So for 38 years of my life, I was just your average, everyday person. I wasn't sucked into it. It's not like I've always been a conspiracy theorist. So it just happened at a period in my life when I was mentally drained, mentally at that right moment in time, a lot of things had happened to me, and, I was maybe looking for things, maybe I was looking for answers. This is still part of the journey that I'm trying to fathom. But ultimately, I was in the wrong place at the wrong time. I fell into conspiracies. You end up going down this tunnel, and you end up basically falling into a trap, and it's very difficult to get out of it, because you can't. It kind of brainwashes you. It messes with your brain, messes with you mentally. And I think just stepping away from Flat Earth for the time that I did, and then spending time with Conspiracy Cats and talking to him, but not about Flat Earth, just normal everyday stuff. Didn't involve Flat Earth, just normal things. And just being away from the community for a time just changed everything. It brought me back to reality. It gave me that impetus that when I saw this image and was able to critically and analyze it properly, it was super easy to just come back. And then I was able to look back at everything and think, how was I so stupid for so long? So, yeah, I was only a conspiracy theorist for a short time of my life, but it was all to do with the brainwashing and mental things that go on at the time. It's very, people end up in cults, people end up in, Mormon cults and all kinds of other cults and whatever, and they get out of it too. So it's just the same sort of thing.
Okay, well, that's interesting because I know, I mean, I differ from you in that all my life I've been fascinated by all of this kind of stuff, like Bigfoot sightings and UFOs and is the Earth flat or hollow and all of that. And I just find that stuff fascinating, but I never felt like, I never went down any kind of rabbit hole other than to look at the very interesting rabbits and dead rabbits along on the road along the way. But I never got to where I thought, oh, okay, now I start to believe in this or that. But I've always been fascinated by the psychology of it and all. I guess maybe something's wrong with my brain. I mean, you describe a way of
psychological thing. It is a
yeah.
psychological thing. You have to be in the right mindset to end up being a conspiracy theorist. It just doesn't happen. I was never that, like I say, I was never that way out, but it was just a period in my life that I was in the wrong place at the wrong time, and I just started falling into these conspiracies because it was just all over YouTube, and I was just binge watching them, and then you end up kind of getting brainwashed over it. So it can happen to anybody.
Okay.
Well, I don't think the same conditions are there on YouTube for that to happen again. But certainly at the time in my life when I was doing it, 2013, 2012, there was so many conspiracies out there, and you watch one, you promoted 10 to 1, but they've changed all the algorithms now. So
yeah, if I could get you into my re-education camp, we'd change your mind.
Right, thank you, Sam, old dude. Can we, do you mind if we move on to the next one? We've got 10 minutes left before we've got to kill the stream. And just to be fair, we've got 2 people waiting to ask questions, and I think 10 minutes should just about cover it. So thank you very much indeed, sir, and we will see you next time.
Yeah, thank you for the time.
Take care, pal. Bye. Brian, if you want to send the next one in, and if it's too late to join the green room now, so we've got a couple of people left in there, Ranty, who are going to ask questions, and the first one is the Stingray.
Hello, Ranty.
Hey, Stingray.
Right, so just so everybody knows, me and Ranty, I did used to go on Ranty's show when he was a flat earther. And he used to have people on there like Brandon, like he says. I think Bev used to hang out there, and Flat Earth Data, and these were all prominent flat earthers that really wanted to push a narrative. And I remember going on there numerous times, Ranty. One of them I remember, I showed you how, using a basic model, that the sunrise rising south of east in Australia couldn't actually be a thing without a sphere and the axial tilt of the Earth. And I remember showing it to you, and I think Flat Earth Data. And both of you, and I'm not, like I said, I don't hold this against you, by the way, but both of you were particularly aggressive in defending that this can't be the case. Now, what I wanted to ask is, you said you searched for truth. Now, why were you so vehemently opposed to me showing that and saying, this is how it is? What actually was going through your mind for you to not kind of investigate more what I was saying?
Okay, so I think I got most of that. I can't remember every conversation we ever had or every presentation you ever brought. There was hundreds of streams that I did over there. So I'm recalling that one particular thing. I'm struggling to do that. But if it was to do with sunsets and stuff like that, I think we were looking at the time for this idea that refraction could cause this sinking effect with the sun, which would give a similar effect of a sunset. I think that was something to do with your question. With the echo, I can't really tell for sure. But I think that's why we were first looking into that at that time. I didn't really look into sunsets too much. I don't think you'll see that I never really did any presentations about sunsets or defended it too hard. You might have thought I did, because I can't remember the debate that you're talking about, to be fair.
Yeah, well, I never had debates. So let's just call them discussions. Okay, so My last question, and to me it's an interesting one, and it's still it's the reason I'm still kind of semi-interested in flat Earth. I'm not interested in the idea. I'm interested in the people to some extent. Now, when you left flat Earth, because I know I know three prominent, well, not prominent, but there was a guy called Bensaw Bandit a while ago. Obviously, there's Jose. JG, who runs his own show now, and Sean G, that used to run his own show, and now you. They all suffered incredible persecution when they left or decided that the Earth wasn't flat. And I mean, some of it was outright vile. Did you expect that when you left, based on what you knew about the individuals that you kept? Was that the case, and did you expect it?
I think I got most of that about other flat earthers, leaving and getting a bad time after they left. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I mean, I didn't really see, once they left, I didn't really watch their content too much. So I know I used to watch Jose because he set up a new channel and he accepted the term flip flop. So actually, me and him were never really on bad terms actually after he left. And I know you say that you think he got a bad deal. I don't think he did too much, but I think other people did. For me leaving though, I mean, I thought things would be slightly different. I thought because I was a bigger name in the community that people would treat me a little bit differently and maybe listen to why I left and the reasons that I'd left. I didn't expect to get thrown under the bus even worse than those guys, because that's what happened. Originally, they thought I was just joking, right? And they thought I was just pulling a prank. And then when they realised it was for real and that I was actually, definitely, no longer a flat earther, that's when the poo-poo hit the fan. But yeah, for the other guys, I mean, they've done all right now, haven't they? They've got their own channels and stuff.
So, can you hear me, Ranty?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll be honest, when I first heard that Ranty was no longer a flat earther, my initial reaction was, yeah, of course he's not. I couldn't see. I thought you were... Oh, I'm not a flat earther anymore. Nathan, you'll never guess what they're saying over that. And I'd be 100% that's what I thought initially. And then after a while, then I could see the sincerity coming through. I could see, watching some of your videos, and it's like, oh, actually, I was wrong then. He genuinely has realised that he's been, wrong for however long it was.
Yeah, I'm upset with myself more than anything.
Yeah,
I spent so long doing this, and I regret all the times that I put the information out showing these long distances, because I imagine that a lot of people fell into flat earth based on that.
Yeah, well, they're bound to, haven't they? So Maggie M is asking if you still have any friends within the FE community, which sort of ties into how you answered this question. And
to be honest, I haven't spoken to anyone in flat earth apart from one person in maybe 6 months.
Yeah. Do you think that's probably for the best, though? Or do you think your mental fortitude is enough now that there's no way that Flerfspective is going to be dragged back into being Ranty?
Oh no, I wouldn't be dragged back into it. It's just I was disappointed because I thought that for all the time that I knew these people that they were my friends.
Yeah.
And I didn't realise that
as
soon as you leave the community, it's like leaving a cult. They
probably panic that you're going to reveal some of the inner workings of how that community works. Maybe I don't know. Stingray, I hope that answers your question. We've got 5 minutes left to take a question from Paul K. So thank you very much, pal. And Brian, if you could send Paul K over so he can ask Ranty his question, and then we are done. And I just
want to say with Stingray too.
It's
I like Stingray.
Yeah.
He does some tremendous stuff with his.
Paul K just coming to talk to me.
PGI.
Right, so there are no more questions, Ranty. That pretty much concludes it. So do you want to leave the Discord server and Unmute. You know what I mean. Do the opposite of what you did the first time. Can you hear me now?
Oh, that is so much better.
Yeah, I know. I honestly have no idea what the hell was going on. Apologies if it has affected your viewing pleasure. Angie wants to know, did you know... What? Ranty, did you know the Earth is hollow instead? Oh, right, okay.
I don't know, but is she single?
Now then, easy, Tiger. Ranty, thank you, pal. That was way more interesting than I thought it was going to be. I just had, you know, my couple of silly little questions at the beginning, but it would seem that they maybe weren't as silly as I thought they were, because a lot of the questions you've been asked were kind of the same, but look, you know, in different ways, if that makes sense. Everyone wants to know the same sorts of things. Did you really believe the Earth was flat? You know, how were you treated when you left? How have you been welcomed over here? Oh, hang on a second. Brian Pop Robson wants to ask a question, and seeing as he's been kinder, do you mind jumping back over to the Discord server just quickly?
Oh, yeah, one sec.
Come on in, Brian. How can I not let you ask a question?
Is he there?
He's on his way. He's on. I can see him. He's rushing frantically.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Brian. Can you hear me? And Ranty's in the
Ranty,
chat now.
can you hear me?
I can.
Yep. Right, here's my question. Do you find that being predisposed to being a conspiracy theorist with Flat Earth, that it's led you on to believe in other conspiracy theories, and has that mindset changed?
For me, it was the other way around. I didn't believe Flat Earth. It was like the most ridiculous thing I think I could ever think of. So I believed every other conspiracy first. And when I ran out of other conspiracies to look at, this was the last one to look into. And that's the one that caught me. And then I haven't really looked at other conspiracies since I was in the Flat Earth. I was just focused on that. It was like, that to me was the final destination for all the other conspiracies. So if I could find out if that was true or not, then it would give answers to all the other conspiracies that I've looked into.
Does that answer your question, Brian?
Good answer. Good answer.
There we are. Awesome. Thank you, pal. I'll speak to you in 5 minutes, right? To the other room, Ranty, quick! Oh, dear me. There we are. Right, we're back, and we are done. Thank you very much to everyone. Has Ranty got anything? I got to stop calling you Ranty. It's just force of habit. I always just assumed it was a nickname, and it was just acceptable, just as acceptable now. Apologies, mate. I've continued to do it throughout the whole stream. Have you got anything coming up on the Flerfspective channel that you wanna promote a little bit, or?
I have. So I've got my 8,000 subscriber live stream tonight in half an hour. It's kicking off. So that's on the Flerfspective channel. Please head on over and jump in the stream there if you want to say hello. I'll show you some of my content as well. I've got a video planned for that to talk through it and then get some guests in. After that, tomorrow night, I'm being a moderator for Fight the Flat Earth. So I'll be in between a Flat Earther and FTFE as they battle it out. So I'll be making sure that the toes are hold to the fire for both of them. And I've also doing I've actually done my part for the Simon Dan collab with the agent back.
Oh, have you really? That's very cool.
I have, yeah. So
that's very cool. There we are. Your channel's linked below as well. Everybody that comes on as a guest, the channel gets linked below, so it's going to be there when it gets uploaded to the second channel tomorrow as well. But before you go and watch Ranty live, Lord Callum has just uploaded a video as well, or he will have in 3 minutes. So jump over to Lord Callum's channel and tell him his daddy sent you. He likes that, but you have to spell daddy D-A-D-I, because that's how we spell it in Wales. So tell him his daddy sent you, and he'll love you forever. He'll probably send you money or something. So thank you, Ranty. I will speak to you in 2 minutes. I'm going to get rid of this rabble.
Okay.
Thank you very much to everybody that super chatted. I hope that the echo and the sound issues weren't too much of a problem, but if they were, well, there's nothing I can do about it now, is there? Thanks for watching, everybody. Love you. Bye.